but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we've got Kevin Wilson here with us.
Howdy.
Hey, there you are, Kevin. Awesome. Just so you guys know, we're having a little bit of video trouble, so we lost Kevin's video feed, but we'll get that figured out maybe later during the show. Today is Tuesday, and for Tuesday we do our Talk of the Town, and I can't help but notice that probably everybody's town is talking about, protests, riots, police policy, police brutality, all of this stuff. And we're starting to see some very interesting, I don't know if it would be appropriate to call it a shift or not, but maybe a movement. A movement is happening where people are starting to push to defund the police. And this
some people are using the A word too. They're
say it again. Abolish.
They're using abolish the police. So
yep.
We got to talk about what the heck that means and why are these crazy progressives trying to abolish the police, and is it a good thing? I mean, anytime I hear like abolish something as a libertarian, I'm kind of like, all right, I'm listening.
Yeah, I mean, when people talk about, reducing government, like libertarians' ears certainly perk up, and I think conservatives' ears do as well, but when it comes to the police, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
So I think this is definitely an interesting topic. I have a picture here that Kevin sent me that says the people's demands, and it has a list of things, and we're going to kind of talk about that. But Kevin, what's your initial gut thought and feeling on this abolish the police movement?
So, whether people are using abolish the police or defund the police, usually they don't quite mean that literally. Sometimes they do. But most of the time, they really mean reform the police and shift resources somewhere else. They don't mean we are going to stop sending as much money to police departments and lower your taxes. They mean we are going to stop spending so much money on police resources and spend it instead on mental health resources or other community safety initiatives instead. So
yeah, and I think that's what we're seeing being discussed in New York City and other cities across the country. You're absolutely right. They're not talking about taking the step of reducing government or making government spending less. Instead, they're talking about shifting that money from one place to another.
Yeah. And I love there's this Twitter account I love following called Popat, and it said, I'm not agitated or pleased by defund police because I've been around long enough to read defund as form a committee regarding.
Huh. Say that one more time, Kevin.
It says, I'm not agitated or pleased by defund police because I've been around long enough to read defund as form a committee regarding.
Yes. No, absolutely. And that's, jeez. Yeah, and everybody's guilty of that one.
We're going to form a committee. It's somehow going to cost $500,000, and then we'll have spent 3 times as much on everything by the time it's all over.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And this is kind of interesting because there have been in the past places, I believe in Texas, I can't remember, I think this was like 8 years ago, a town or a county that actually did eliminate their police force, and instead the community hired like a private security firm to do their policing. I don't remember all the details. This was like a really long time ago. And leftists and progressives, like their heads exploded about this. They're like, "Oh no, you can't do that," blah blah blah, all these things. And what I recall reading was it was actually pretty successful. They reduced costs and had less crime. So it's interesting to see, fast forwarding now, that they're talking about, quote unquote, abolishing the police, even though that's maybe not really what they mean. But
Yeah.
I think it's important to say that words do have meaning, and we shouldn't just be throwing around phrases and words when we mean something entirely different.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just bad messaging in a lot of cases too. Like, if you mean abolish the police, then okay. I mean, don't tempt me with a good time. But like, they don't actually mean that. And even with defund the police and all that stuff, like it doesn't quite mean what it seems to mean on the nose. And I don't say that to either relieve your fear or like exacerbate it. That's just an observation about like what they say they're really meaning. When they say defund the police, they mean reform the police and shift police resources to people without guns. Which, I'm open to talking about that type of stuff, but like if that's what you mean, then say it.
Yeah, I think it's a big messaging issue here. I kind of wonder if it's meant to give like shock value, to get people scared, get people nervous. They're trying to rattle the system right now. And
it's
so like
certainly more punchy than, like we should shift police resources to mental health services and other community investments. I mean,
yeah, that doesn't really catch the news headlines very well,
Yeah.
I don't think. So
I mean, hey, we're talking about it, so I guess that's what
well,
it is,
exactly.
right?
That's the point. So I think what we're gonna do, we're gonna spend at least a good portion of the show looking at some of these quote unquote the people's demands. Kevin, do you know where this came from, by the way?
So
see it's a
that was,
picture.
yeah, that was from the rally in Rochester. So Will Cleveland from the Democrat Chronicle took that photo. So I stole it from his Twitter. And I don't know if you can share this on the video feed for everyone, but if not, then we'll just read them off. So I was at the rally Saturday. They were handing out some of these flyers that said the people's demand. So let's just read them off real quick. Demand one, freedom all. They want everyone who was arrested at the prior weekend's protests to be released. Defund the police. And then they have 3 bullet points explaining that. Remove police from the city school district. Serve the people, which by that they mean they don't want politicians to take money from police unions, like the Locust Club locally. Demilitarize the police.
We should talk about that too later, because I've actually spoken to a couple of the officials that got the endorsements, and their side is interesting.
Oh, yeah, no, I'd love to hear about that. So demilitarize the police. So Rochester Police has like an MRAP, and we've talked about that on the show before. It's basically a big mine-resistant vehicle. Doesn't quite look like a
For
tank,
all the
but it's pretty
mines in
close.
Rochester and the
Yeah.
IEDs on the roads.
Yeah, just in case.
Yep.
Better to have it and not need it, right? Repeal 50A, which looks like that is actually happening. That's something coming through the state legislature. And then this one, it's going to seem a little bit off topic, but it is what it is. Cancel the rent. They want to cancel rent and prohibit evictions in Rochester. Okay.
I saw that.
left
And
field.
I did kind of wonder how that ties in to this whole thing, and I certainly have some opinions about that, because I'm going through some struggles as well that had to do with rent, and so I found that like pretty interesting. Like, yeah, police reform and cancel the rent. Like, what?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to go together. So maybe there's a connection, maybe there's not, but it doesn't seem like there is a connection right now to me.
Yeah. I mean, basically they say like, well, if we save all this money from defunding the police, we should just be able to pay everyone's rent, right? So that's...
Oh, is that so? It's almost
So
like
they're-
they're like a secret hidden 4D chest UBI thing or something.
Yeah, it's like, all right, we're taking this away. Like housing is a human right type of thing, and which is what they say on there. And we'll cancel rent, cancel evictions, and then subsidize the landlords. And it's going to be awesome because we love landlords, right? That's
Oh, that's
Did
how
I-
it works, huh? Wow,
did
I
get
haven't seen
message
that one.
No, I don't think that's their messaging.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Not at all.
Effectively, that's kind of how it would probably end up working if somehow this became a reality. I don't think that one's quite going to happen. Although it did happen in Ithaca, New York. They canceled the rent, and I'm trying to figure out exactly what they mean by that, because you don't really cancel rent, you just shift who pays for it.
Yeah,
Someone's gotta
that's
pay for it.
interesting. So, and you know what's going to happen is everybody's just going to raise the rent because they know government's paying for it. Actually, I think we did a show about this.
Yeah,
I feel
sounds
like we
familiar.
talked about this before.
Probably. I'm sure we did. I feel like we've talked about like rent stuff at some point in the past, because people were talking about it as soon as the coronavirus stuff hit too.
Yeah. No, it's a possibility. I think we had somebody on the show. Maybe they even talked about some of the subsidies or something. But that's going a little ways back.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're gonna take a break here. You're listening to Radio Free New York. We're gonna talk about the demands of the people, and then later in the show, we're gonna talk about the media trying to exclude people from congressional debates. So we'll talk about that and more when we come back on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
I'm Las from Action Towing and Service. We are the biggest towing company in New York State, but we do a lot more than just towing. We will tow just about anything, but we will also repair just about anything as well. We offer a courtesy shuttle and pickup. We offer a drop box service. We have all these amenities that we've put in place to make sure that every one of our customers can receive the best service possible. Please give us an opportunity to win your business. Come down and visit us at 275 Marketplace Drive, right off of Jefferson Road.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice, save a life, train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe, ride free, ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. Kevin Wilson's here with us as well. Can't see him. You know, we've got a little bit of video problems, but he is here.
You know, I just finally got my haircut yesterday too. I'm rocking a fresh new cut, and I can't show it off.
See, you know,
What luck.
I'll get my official haircut tomorrow. That'll be it. So get nice and fresh and clean. Although apparently they can't do they can't do like beard trims or straight razor shaves or any of that stuff. They can only do haircuts because I guess the other stuff's not till like phase 4 or something.
Oh, yeah.
little
Oh,
annoying.
I didn't know that. I didn't get a beard trim anyway. I just got nice simple cut. So
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So we're talking here about this whole thought of abolish the police. And, I think, Kevin, before we move on to this flyer of the people's demands, we should talk about what if America actually moved forward, town by town, city by city, county by county, state by state, and truly began to abolish police forces, what would that look like? What would it look like? Would it go well? Would it go bad? What is the ideal scenario if there is one versus what government would actually do?
right, so
what are your
we're talking
thoughts?
about actual elimination of police. Like we just said,
Yeah,
police.
let's take the
job's
words
done.
for what
Get
they
out.
actually are. Yeah, let's talk about legit actually abolishing the police.
All right, radical anarchist Andrew talking about abolishing police. You heard
No,
it here,
I mean
folks.
these are the words they're using, right?
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
if they mean something different. I think it's worth discussing.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. All right, let's take the idea seriously, right? What does it look like? So because I don't know. Again, I look at that situation. I think, okay, on the one hand, some of the laws that we don't like, the abuses that we don't like, the violence that coming from police that we don't like, that's going to go away. But I think there's a legitimate fear among a lot of people is what fills in the vacuum, right? Mm-hmm. And you hear a lot of people say, oh, what if gang starts running things, right? Is there a community patrol that fills its place? Is there a private police force that fills its place? Which can take a couple different forms, right? It could be a disorganized militia type situation where volunteers show up and start protecting the town, or not. Or you have a situation where a city council says, all right, we're going to abolish the police, but we're going to give a contract to security forces who don't have the same level of qualified immunity and whatnot that normal police departments have, but they can show up and can be contracted to, say, catch, criminals in this cases. Or what's actually likely to happen, which is what happened in Camden, New Jersey, is they eliminate the police for the city, and then they say, okay, county sheriff's department, you're going to take care of all the police stuff now, which is most likely, if there is ever actually a movement to eliminate police in most places, that's what's going to end up happening, which, may be better in some situations, but
do you think
it
then the
just shifts
sheriff's
the taxes.
departments are just going to rehire on those city police anyways?
Probably a good chance of that, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of it to me in some of these situations ends up feeling performative. All right, so they abolish the police, they shift all their resources over to, quote unquote, reinvesting in the community, right? Which means hiring different city employees to do different types of jobs. In these situations, when you call 911, does it redirect to actually have those new city services address the issues, or does it end up just shifting the burden to a sheriff's department? It just shifts it up to the county level instead of the city level. And at that point, have you really accomplished anything meaningful? And I will say this, and I think, Andrew, you and I talked about this with a candidate before. The town of Pittsford doesn't have police. We had a discussion with people from Pittsford, and well, why not? Just asking an open-ended discussion, and they basically said, look, it's expensive, it's unnecessary, ends up kind of creating different sets of issues. We just let the county sheriff's department handle it. Monroe County Sheriff's
I
Office
think Henrietta
protects
doesn't
Town of
have a
Pittsford.
police force as
Same
well,
with Henrietta.
if I recall.
Yeah. So there are towns in Monroe County who don't have police forces because it's not necessary. And so what that ends up looking like in practice, again, is, okay, your municipality doesn't have police for any number of reasons, but you just have whatever response the county sheriff's office is able to handle.
So the way that we're talking about this right now is the same way that politicians get away with saying they're cutting taxes, right? They say, oh yeah, you know what? We're going to reduce your property tax by, 5 cents per thousand or whatever their goofy things are. and then they bump up, say, the gas tax or a corporate tax or some little fee when you pay your taxes or something like that. So they just shift it around because they end up spending way more year by year, but they told you they cut taxes. The police department thing sounds like, at least the way we're talking about now, would be the same thing. Like, yeah, you know what? We'll shut down the city police department, but chances are the sheriff's department is just going to rehire all those people on anyways. So, Kevin, what happens if they say no police? You know, say this takes off nationally, this thing goes crazy, and they get what they're asking for, not necessarily what they want, which is they asked to abolish the police, and they actually get it instead of getting, you know, shifted funds. And some state somewhere in the union decides, you know what? Yeah, no sheriff, no state police, no county police, no town, no city police, just no police. Then what?
Yeah. Well, I suppose people are going to get suddenly much more interested in gun ownership. And hopefully they're in a state where that's easy to facilitate.
It's going to be a lot poor experience in New York.
Yeah, right. Already is. But anyhow, so the people of the state are probably going to start to look out and protect themselves, which again could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. You know, and the important thing to keep in mind is a lot of people are going to learn really fast what like the legal liability is for, brandishing a weapon and things like that when they're worried about a situation. A lot of people are going to go out and try to solve stuff on their own. You know, I'm probably more of a moderate libertarian where I'm like, this is probably a bad idea that there are a handful of things that we should probably have police officers for. Like, you know, sometimes we want police to stop and catch murderers, and I would prefer that they are just better at that and they focus on that stuff rather than like a lot of petty crimes that people get upset with and then eventually boils over.
So do you think, and this is, once again, this is all hypothetical, this isn't actually happening, but it's a discussion, so we're having it.
Why not?
So say state abolishes their police, like totally for real abolishes the police. Then they start realizing that they have issues because gun ownership isn't that easy. The criminals aren't following the laws.
Well, actually, I'll add an asterisk to that.
Who's going to enforce the gun laws?
No, I know. I was actually thinking about that. I was like, if New York State abolished the police, who's enforcing the SAFE Act now? Who's enforcing, like, you know, magazine bans? Who's enforcing like some of this other stuff?
Yeah. You want to stop me from getting a 30-round magazine? Well, who's going to stop me?
Yeah, no, exactly. So maybe gun ownership becomes significantly easier. Maybe violent crime goes up, maybe it goes down. My worry would be that people would then choose later to bring back police forces, and it would come back even heavier, even stronger, even more funded than before, because maybe they went too far and now they're overcompensating.
Yeah. No, that's what I'd worry about too. So I don't think it's actually happening in any real sense of the word. And I'm sure like the people who are really hardcore listening to a show, I'm like, yeah, let's eliminate all government. Like, you're going to be disappointed in this. But again, I'm mostly like, police should probably be around, and I think that there would be a lot of really bad consequences if they weren't. If you really want to dive deep into that rabbit hole, read the book Anarchy, State, and Utopia by Robert Nozick, and he talks about like what actually happens when you don't have a police force and what type of weird things might kind of come together and end up kind of forming almost a state anyway. So if you want to go down that rabbit hole, people have talked about it. Like, it is well tread ground. Anarchy, State, and Utopia by Robert Nozick. He talks about what happens if you have no police.
There you go. Awesome. Very cool. So I know we spent, a whole segment just about talking about that, but I think it's important because people are probably pretty nervous about that. If they're hearing it, they're seeing what's going on in Minnesota. They're seeing these flyers being passed around, and people are hearing abolish the police. I'm seeing posts about it all over social media, for it, against it, people calling each other all sorts of names because of it. So it certainly is stirring up attention. And but I think it is like pretty misleading based on the language they're using.
Yeah, no, they don't mean it. They mean either shift resources to the county level. So, your taxes are going to go up that way while they spend that police money on something else. Or they mean just reform police practices, which is, again, a fair enough discussion to have. But if that's what you mean, we should probably be having that discussion on that level.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, guys, you're listening to Radio Free New York. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Now, more than twice the power. More powerful FM 92.1, FM 95.5 West, and 1040 AM WYSL Avon Rochester.
Here's the latest forecast from the Newstead NBC Weather Center for tonight. We'll have partly cloudy skies, staying a bit warmer out there. Temps in the 60s to near 70 on Wednesday, turning very hazy, hot, and humid near record-setting warmth in the low to mid-90s. We'll feel closer to 100 with high humidity. Could be a shower or a thunderstorm, especially Wednesday night into Thursday morning. I'm Rich Cornelia on WYSL.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations. No need to get beat up on the job. Available at C&B Mower in Lima, the all-new Ferris ISX 3300 commercial mower features the industry's most advanced independent suspension system. 4-front, 4 steel control rods ensure the caster tires follow the terrain and remain vertical for reduced caster chatter. This allows you to mow faster and get more done while staying comfortable so you can finish the day feeling good. Productivity doesn't end there. The Vanguard oil system provides less maintenance and more performance by extending oil change intervals to 500 hours. The Oil Guard system provides extended engine life and over 60% oil service savings per unit per season. So stop by C&B Mower routes 5 and 20 just east of the village of Lima today to see how the Ferris ISX 3300 has your back. Ferris, work hard, feel good.
Show world. Show world. Mount Read, Henrietta, Waterloo. 8 a.m. to midnight, Monday through Saturday. Sunday, 12 to 12. 1212 open. Welcome in. We're open up. DVDs, magazines, incense, quarter pipes, adult products, lingerie.
Show world now open.
Flower City Collision in Henrietta is your hometown body shop. Flower City works with all major insurance companies, repairing your vehicle back to pre-accident condition. Finest craftsmanship using PPG products. Get it done right. Visit flowercitycollision.com.
Dispatch Custom Milling in East Rochester offers portable sawmill service. They'll turn your valuable logs into valuable lumber at your site. Up to 36 inches wide and 21 feet long. Serving the area for 7 years, visit dispatchcustommilling.com.
Avon Gun and Hunting Supply reminds you to keep safe. Avon Gun is open for sales and repairs by appointment only. Call 226-8277. That's 226-8277. Avon Gun, East Main Street, next to the Bank of Castile.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right. Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. I've got Kevin Wilson here with me. And we've spent the first half of the show talking about this idea of abolishing the police, something that protesters are using as a term to press for police reform. We've talked about what it would maybe look like if we were truly going to abolish the police. But we've also established that's not really what they're asking for. They're using that term to be inflammatory and to get people to talk about the topic, which is working because we're talking about here on Radio Free New York. Kevin, what do they actually mean? What is their end goal and their intent with abolish the police?
Yeah, like I said, it's not abolishing it in any real sense. They usually mean they don't like. There's great articles too at like the Mises Institute who talk about like, well, we could have private police forces and all that stuff. They don't really mean that, although it's an idea worth exploring. They mean, again, shifting to things like a mental health resource response. So when you call 911 or 311 or whatever because someone's having a mental health crisis, instead of sending over a police officer who who hasn't been trained in mental health response, because not all of them have, you send over someone who's, equipped to respond to someone having a mental health crisis. You don't send over to police officers right away if the situation hasn't escalated to that point. Or you might send, again, if you, instead of calling the police on someone who's selling drugs, you might, call someone else who comes in and they talk to people and they try to, find better situations to, instead of just immediately arresting them, to kind of talk to them about like other opportunities, try to get them to stop selling drugs, try to get them into community services. Same with like calling the police on homeless people, people who are out like sleeping on a bench or whatever. Instead of having a police officer deal with that situation, you have someone from a homeless organization come up and deal with it instead.
So I know what people are probably thinking. I've at least heard it before during discussions like this from people right here in the Rochester and Monroe County area. They will say things like, no, we need the police to deal with drug dealers because drug dealers are dangerous. They kill people. They engage in illegal activity. We need the police for these things. And if you were to send a counselor out there, they might not make it back. These are things that people are thinking. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that like right now it's already happening a little bit. Like a lot of times counselors are out trying to do that too. And to give like the Rochester Police Department credit, they're trying to do things like send officers, like they have like a mental health unit that they deal with that stuff. When someone's dealing drugs, like a lot of times like they want to try to, especially with like the heroin crisis, they're trying to get people into treatment instead of immediately saying like, we're just going to throw cuffs on you and we're going to put you in jail. Instead they're like, hey, why don't you go to this treatment place instead? So to give the Rochester Police Department at least a little bit of credit, there are people who are kind of working towards this stuff. The kind of defund police stuff are like, okay, but like police shouldn't be the first person to respond to this stuff in any sense, right? And it gets tricky, like how do you, a lot of this requires a shift in culture too. Like again, I think that they are correct in their assessment that police do get tasked with handling too much, and we've kind of moved away from communities solving some of their own problems. Like if you have some neighbor who's being a jerk, instead of like going to talk to them, a lot of people's first response is, I'm going to call code enforcement or I'm going to call the police, right? Like
they try to leverage some other piece of law against them and government force to like try to resolve their issues.
Yeah. So, and I get why that is sometimes a useful and a safer tool for that people want to use. At the same time, we have many people have lost their ability to, again, de-escalate situations and confront their neighbors when there is an issue and kind of work through these things on their own terms rather than bringing the government in to resolve these problems for them. And the thing about bringing the government in is usually their only solution is some form of violence or coercion. Again, sometimes that's necessary. Sometimes that's what you got to do. If there's someone being violent towards you, that's sometimes an appropriate response, but we look towards that response too often.
So it sounds like what this could turn into, if done correctly, and we know government rarely does things correctly, so it's kind of unlikely. But we would see a shift. We used to have peace officers, and we still kind of do, but they're not as prevalent. And we really kind of made a shift to law enforcement. And it sounds like people are asking for, with the wrong words, they're asking for the police to become a peacekeeping force and to be more focused on calming situations rather than arresting people, and being maybe medical professionals to help people through mental or addiction problems instead of using handcuffs and prison as rehab.
Yeah. And listen, I'm presenting it in a very nice way, right? I'm presenting it in a way that I'm trying to give the best argument as possible. So people listen, like, this is what the actual solutions people are talking about. You go ahead and research it on your own. We'll post some links if you're listening to us online. But again, how this will probably end up turning out is somehow it's going to cost us way more money. We're going to end up with police just getting more training. And
just more requirements, more schooling, more cost.
We'll probably, like, I've heard other people pitch, like, oh, well, maybe we should just require all police officers to have a 4-year degree. And I'm like, that's not really like
fix anything.
It's not that's not gonna fix a dang thing. No.
Well, the colleges will lobby for it for sure.
Oh yeah, no, the colleges will love it. They're struggling right now to, like, yes, please force more people to get a 4-year degree. No, I don't think you need a 4-year degree. I think, to me, it's I want police to do the really hard stuff. Police are really good at using violence. There are many police officers, though, that they want to just go. They want to serve their community. They want to make their community a better place. They want to stop the bad people. And they don't want to have to deal with all this other nonsense. But you put police officers in a position where they can enforce this dumb, petty law and, get someone under control, or they lose their job. Right. And again, if that means, like, hurting someone in the process, sometimes that's, like, the difficult situation. Like, I think that we put police officers in an impossible situation a lot of times. And the best solution to that is to make it so they're not required to intervene in so many situations, that we have other experts to be able to go and do that. We have nonprofit organizations, or, I don't particularly want to shift it to, like, other city employees, but we have other ways of, like, oh, well, we don't need to call the police for this. We need to call the police for the bank robber, the murderer, the thief, someone who's assaulting someone, and focus on doing that stuff really well. Don't worry about all the other stuff.
So you're saying the answer would be have police focused on violent crimes only, and the nonviolent stuff should be somebody else, maybe a nonprofit, maybe a community organization, maybe some department still involved with government, but with a different focus.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather see that. That's, like, the better solution anyway, right? Again, I'd rather not see the government solution. I'd rather see communities get the expectation that we need to solve our own problems internally as much as possible. Again, what I worry will happen is either they'll just spend a bunch of money on it, or they'll shift it to someone else. We'll say, okay, we'll abolish, I don't know if this is actually happening in Rochester, but we're going to abolish the Rochester Police Department. But that just means that when you call the cops now, the Monroe County Sheriff's Department shows up, and all the same people who are in RPD are just going to show up, but with different vehicles.
Yeah, and I think there's already private sector answers to some of this stuff. I mean, look at an organization like the Better Business Bureau or the Better Contractors Bureau. Yeah. They exist as an independent organization. They're not a part of government. They're a private organization. And when people have disputes with a business or a payment or some sort of service, instead of calling the police, instead of having to maybe go through a lawsuit or, collections, people can go to the Better Business Bureau for kind of like independent arbitration of their issues. Yeah. And you could do that with your neighborhood communities. You could have neighborhood community organizations that fill that gap so that things like code enforcement, zoning, and some of these other just like goofy things that people use against each other could be worked out by kind of like an independent third party.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's better ways of doing it. And even with some of the stuff, like, you could, increase, like most security doesn't come from police. It comes from private security organizations, again, who are protecting businesses, who are looking at stuff and using more of that. Again, if you're a business that wants to be able to do that, like they should be able to find a way to figure it out. And again, I'm fine with shifting resources away from the police. I want police to have a very narrow job, and I want them to do it well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Guys, you're listening to Radio Free New York. We're going to take a brief break. We'll be back in a moment.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Aircraft Environmental Systems proudly supports Radio Free New York. Rochester-based leaders in climate simulation chambers for America's R&D laboratories. We're experts in troubleshooting, calibrations, custom designs, and consulting for more than 40 years. Industry pioneers, we created the first ever fleet of temperature, humidity, and altitude test chambers available to rent coast to coast. Trained and trusted by environmental chamber manufacturers, we are ACES. Find us at acesinc.com.
Fiorella, a family-owned farm-to-table Italian restaurant at the Rochester Public Market, is open for curbside contactless takeout Wednesday through Saturday. Lunch 11:30 to 2 and dinner 4 to 8. Fiorella offers wood-fired Old World-style pizza with naturally leavened dough and house-made fresh pasta. Check out our Facebook and Instagram at Restaurant Fiorella for nightly specials. Thursday is gnocchi night. Call 434-5705. View the takeout menu on the web, restaurantfiorella.com.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We've also got Kevin Wilson here with us. And before we wrap up that last discussion, I wanted to throw out just one more thing here that I think is worth saying. You know, I think many Americans want to bring our troops home. I think we have a lot of veterans who struggle to kind of reintegrate into society. But when they are overseas, they have to operate on very specific rules of engagement. And I keep talking with people about this, and they keep bringing it up, that the rules of engagement for them and how they can interact with people overseas are just very strict, very disciplined, and that they're a lot more strict than what police have to use with American citizens here. And I just think that if we're talking about this whole abolish the police movement, which really means changing around police resources, bringing in different specialties to work with different problems instead of having the police respond to every single call, I think this is a good opportunity for veterans to come back home, have a job that is still structured well, that they could be a part of this change, where they can come in and they operated under those really strict rules of engagement. So they have already just a different mindset about things. And maybe they could be a part of what the response is. Once again, the police theoretically are only responding to violent crimes, and somebody else is showing up for other stuff. I think it could be maybe a good fit for our veterans.
Yeah, no, it'd be a great thing. Just have them who have experience in being in tense situations, who understand strict rules of engagement. Get them in. I love it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I know we want to change gears here just a little bit, because there's something else going on over in, was it Erie and Niagara County? Well, I guess technically it covers Monroe County.
Yeah, Livingston
as well.
too.
Yeah, and Livingston County. Yeah. So the New York 27th congressional district race is going to have a debate, and they are excluding one of the candidates. Kevin, why don't you?
Well, technically two, but
two.
I don't
because
feel
the
as bad
primary
for
hasn't happened yet, right?
Well, so they're having the debate for the June 23rd special election for New York 27. So they got Chris Jacobs, who's a Republican, Nate McMurray, who's the Democrat. You got Dwayne Whitmer, who's been a guest on the show, who is the Libertarian running, and then there's the Green Party candidate, who I think might be in jail, but I don't know if they end up catching the guy. But he was one of the people on top of the police cars in Rochester.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Which the Green Party kind of threw him under the bus a little bit and then retracted it, and so they're fun. Our good old friend Chris is, got a lot of fun stuff to deal with. But anyhow, Dwayne Whitmer, who has been campaigning for the New York 27th congressional district seat for a while, and again, he's been on the show. You can see some of the past episodes with him if you check out our podcast or look on our Facebook pages. He was left out of this debate. This is what happens a lot of times with third parties. Even though Dwayne's a guy who's been getting earned media, he's been a guy who's out on the campaign trail, he's been a guy who's raising money and all that stuff. They still left him out. That's a shame. Yeah, I think he would have been a great addition to this debate. The debate is on WIVB or something out in Buffalo, so it's not one of the local stations, but it's way out there. This is what happens with libertarian candidates, especially when you get someone good. They exclude Gary Johnson from the national debates, even though I think he would have had been a great addition to those discussions. They excluded Larry from... Well, actually, Larry wasn't excluded so much as Andrew Cuomo just decided to not show up to a lot of stuff. But they did have one debate between Larry and Rob Astorino, between
Cuomo and Molinaro.
Or Cuomo and... Did I say Rob Astorino? My goodness.
You did, yeah.
What year am I in? No, Mark, my goodness. Where... Andrew, I'm
stuck
struggling.
in the COVID time portal here. Go grab you, pull you out.
Oh, goodness. All right, so anyway, they had one between Andrew Cuomo and Mark Molinaro that they excluded Larry from. Again, despite the fact that he's raising money, he's included in polls, all that stuff. And what they end up doing is they end up just setting some arbitrary number like, oh, well, we would include you, but you need to have gotten 10% in the polls. And when you get 10% in the polls, well, you have to have gotten at least 15% in the polls, and only in these other polls where they didn't even put your name in. So, sorry, you can't do that. Or,
keep moving the goalpost.
Yeah, or you need to have raised this much money. You need to have raised $10,000 to get in. Okay, I raised $15,000. You need to have raised $25,000 to get in. Yeah. Just move the goalpost over and over and over again. That's what they do. And it's frustrating. So if that's something you care about, our Dwayne Whitmer, who's again being on a show, check out his Facebook page and see what he's up to. He's mostly talking about some of the lawsuits that he's bringing against Andrew Cuomo right now. But if you think that third party candidates should be in debates, check it out. Get involved. Call the people running the debates, and See if you can,
yeah,
see if
and
you turn
I
the heat
think
up a
this
little bit.
issue is even more than third parties. It impacts third parties, but I
Well, it
think
impacts voters,
realistically, the way the debate should be is if your name is going to be on the ballot, you should be included in the debate. It's that simple. You know, there shouldn't be any extra little frills here or there. And New York State keeps making ballot access harder and harder and harder year by year. So if you're on the ballot, you should be in the debate. That's just my opinion.
It's easy enough, and they like. The hard part is like it's not like it's run by a nonprofit organization or anything, which would have to not be discriminatory. It's run by a private organization like a news station, and so they can technically do whatever they want. But again, they're doing a disservice to voters who may be looking for another option. They may be like, I don't really want either of these people. So like, what are my other options? And they may not know. And even on the presidential level, it's a private organization that determines who's in the debate. The Commission on Presidential Debates is run by Republicans and Democrats, so they can shift the criteria as much as they want, and they have a lot of incentive to not include third-party candidates. But, if they could have like an objective criteria, like, if you are on enough states to be able to win, you should be included in these debates, right? So I get like not having some like random third party guy who's on in like one or two states.
Yeah.
I
so
get
if you're on the ballots for enough states that, or if the electoral votes essentially add up in the states that you're on the ballot for, that you could take the presidency, then you should be in the debate.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems like such a simple thing. But, they don't want that, of course. They don't want the competition. They don't want somebody to stand up and say, here's a really good policy, and them have to defend their really bad policies.
Right, exactly. And what's always hilarious is like they'll say things like, "Oh, well, we don't want the stage to be crowded. We can't just let everyone in." I'm like, man, you guys ran like Democratic debates with like 15 people on stage. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, for sure. The Republicans last time around, would they have like 17 or 18 people up there? I mean, it was crazy.
Totally ridiculous. I think like some people got to speak for like 30 seconds.
Yeah. So before we close up the show, Samantha wants to know if Kevin's not on camera because he didn't do his hair and makeup, and Sean's suggesting that you didn't wash your flannel, Kevin. So I figured,
that's a fair question. It's a fair accusation. I'm wearing a very light flannel right now, and I did not, in fact, do my hair. I wear a hat. That's why I wear a hat most days, because I don't feel like combing my hair, because I'm like, I'm just gonna cover it up. And my makeup is always perfect. Thank you very much, guys. It's perfect, and you're missing out on it now. I'm just saying, if you saw me, I'd be very handsome.
You guys gotta blame the people at Microsoft and Skype here. For some reason, we just couldn't get the video and the audio to work simultaneously for Kevin. So you don't get to see his makeup today, but maybe next time. So guys, thank you so much for joining us here on Radio Free New York. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow.